Jim Graves went to the back room, but maybe he went upstairs to the second floor. So why don't we just get started? And again, on his behalf, I want to welcome you to his church. I want to thank the church for having us here. This is Faith Chapel of Philadelphia, a non-denominational church. And it's a church that provides a lot to this community. They have programs that serve this community. And Pastor Graves would talk about how important that is to this particular church and how they embrace the neighborhood with a lot of services and a lot of interaction. They're actively involved in walking in the community to address the issue of safety, public safety, and also concerned about gun violence, partnering with St. Vincent's Church across the street. And their mission of food, service of food to the community as well. They're an RCL they have a separate organization, which is an RCL, that addresses the development issues in the community and makes it a safe place for people to come out and hear about the development that's proposed for the community. So they're very active RCO as well. So with that, I just want to say to Faith Chapel, thank you very much for having us, and we appreciate you. And I just want to acknowledge community leaders and elected leaders that are here. I want to start out with that. So, State Rep Kenzie, would you like to say a word?
If you don't mind, I'll do the announcement about the October 15th event.
It's
oh,
the
now?
floor, yes.
Okay. Hey, man. Good evening, everyone. As Connie goes on, she's going to talk about double the vote, and I think as we look at it, you know, in the past there's been a big push in regards to getting folks registered to vote, but I want to say thank you to Connie and Jim's and Fasaha Trail and others who have worked with double the vote, because strategically we've not really looked in the past in regards to folks who are registered to vote but just don't come out to vote. We've always been, not always, but at least from where I sit, there's always been a push to get folks registered to vote, but we've sort of missed that middle group of folks who may have voted and just stopped voting. So I want to again thank the crew for putting this together. I think there's an event that's going to take place that can support this initiative. I just announced it or shared it with a few folks as I was coming in, but next Saturday, October 15th, at 11 o'clock p.m. I'm sorry, 11 o'clock a.m. p.m. is when I get my bottle. 11 o'clock a.m. though, we some of the elected officials in the Northwest State and congressional elected officials are hosting a rally for Josh Shapiro. We just got a dummy flyer today. We got to go over it and we'll make sure that we get it out as quickly as possible. But the intent is that here in the urban community, especially in Black communities, we want to make sure that we let folks who are running, such as Josh Shapiro's running for governor, and I can tell you that the union's working on getting Fetterman to come as well to join us for this. But right now we do have Josh Shapiro locked down. So we have a rally that's going to take place again October 15th at 11 o'clock a.m. It's going to take place right at Shelton and Sprague. It's the New Journey Christian Center, which is the old Immaculate Conception Church, I believe. If the weather is conducive, we're going to have it outdoor, but we are prepared to go inside the church. Upstairs is a place called the Castle that's run by Dan Ramsey. So we have, we'll be there no matter what the weather conditions are, but we decide whether or not to be indoor or outdoor. We are looking for volunteers to simply help. We estimate a crowd of about 500, possibly more, but we're looking to get at least a minimum 500. We're basing that somewhat off of what Fetterman had the previous week up in Mount Airy. So again, this organization will be invited to have how we want to have information flow strategically that works for this group, whether it's a table or just having some people work the crowd. But I just hope that the 59th Ward can join in the efforts, because the 59th Ward is actually a part of that as well, since it's taking place in the 59th Ward. So thank you, Connie.
Thank you very much. Okay. We've been opening these meetings by invoking the spirit of David P. Richardson Jr.
because we know that were he here, he would be here. And for those of you who may not have known Brother Dave, as he was known, he was the youngest state legislator ever elected to office when he was elected to the Pennsylvania legislature from the 201st legislative district, couple representatives before Steve, in 1972 at the age of 24. He was a young guy. He was a young guy. After serving 11 terms in the legislature, he was 47 when he died of a heart attack in 1995. He was a member of United Progressives and the Greater Germantown Youth Corporation, both groups of young people who mobilized to empower Black and poor communities. One of his legislative accomplishments that tells a lot about him was a bill he sponsored to prevent utility shutoffs on Fridays. That's poor people's legislation, which he thought would keep poor people from having their gas or electric shut off when they couldn't do anything about it over the weekend. When he spoke publicly, he often quoted Frederick Douglass, and if you knew him, you couldn't go anywhere with him without him saying, "Power yields nothing without demand." So here's the spirit of Dave Richardson speaking through the words of Frederick Douglass. Okay, let me get this. I should probably remember this, have it memorized, but I do not. So, power concedes nothing without a demand, said Frederick Douglass in 1857. It never did and it never will. Find out just what any people will quietly submit to, and you have found out the exact measure of injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them. And these will continue till they are resisted with either words or blows or with both. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress. Men may not get all they pay for in this world, but they must certainly pay for all they get. If we ever get free from the oppressions and wrongs heaped upon us, we must pay for their removal. We must do this by labor, by suffering, by sacrifice, and if needs be, by our lives and the lives of others.
All right.
Every time I hear that, it just feels like it was written for today.
Right, written last week.
Yeah, written last week for today. So for those of you who are joining us and have heard about Northwest Double the Vote campaign for the first time, we just want to give you an opportunity to understand a little bit about why we came together, who we are, and what we're looking for. So we're all volunteers, and this is at the bottom of your agenda. So this is a campaign that was formed when volunteer grassroots, community, and thought leaders met to discuss a critical concern: the low voter turnout in election results in Northwest Black and brown neighborhoods. So what we did to come to this conclusion was we gathered data to document recent voting history, to provide a snapshot for each ward to help residents understand what strategies we need to increase voter turnout in our own communities. So we examined the critical impacts that led to historic low voter turnout. We all have heard about them, and we know that they're true. Racial and social injustice, economic injustice, housing inequity, loss of generational wealth, community violence, safety, and voter suppression, and we know that it builds voter apathy and complacency. So what Northwest Double the Vote campaign will do is target and engage registered voters who have not voted and urge them to use the electoral process to secure the changes that we need. Our vote reinforces every other tool we use to build and develop our communities. So Northwest Double the Vote will engage elected officials to protect voting rights by developing strategies to combat voter disinformation, because there's a lot of it out there. We believe that our vote is the most powerful weapon that we have, and after we demonstrate, lobby, boycott, petition, and launch social media campaigns, it is our vote that holds public officials accountable to our communities. And so that's a little bit about what we're all about. And tonight, we're just gonna talk about the strategies and what does a low voter turnout look like in the 59th ward. And we've done this for 4 other wards prior to the meeting tonight. Did it in the 22nd, the 17th, the 11th, and the 13th. No, the 12th, and the 11th and 13th. And so when we look at this data and you say, okay, this is where I am, I'm in this division, you will understand why we thought it was important to have this strategy for targeting those who are already registered to vote but don't come out to vote, and try to find out why and do what we can do as neighbors, as community leaders to change that so that we'll have an impact in the future, because this is the general election coming up, but we have next year, 2023 and 2024. And so while this is our start, it won't be our finish. So that MGMC will come up and talk about who we are.
Okay. Well, who we are. We've been around for a while, some of us, as you can see. Been working on these issues and trying to make certain that our voices are heard. We're volunteers, and the main thing I want you to understand is that Northwest Double the Vote was developed in a way not to deal so much directly with issues through our representatives, but more just to get to the people that we can get to, our neighbors, our family members, our fellow church members, and get them, if we can convince all of the people that we're in contact with to just take somebody's hand who they know has not been voting and make certain that they're registered. And by the way, we're really trying to get mostly to people who are already registered but just aren't voting. But if we can just take their hand and commit ourselves to taking them to the polls or sitting down with them to fill out the mail-in ballots or applications, and then later the ballots, then we'll be doing a significant service for ourselves. We want the Northwest. And by the way, when we started this, we were hoping that other parts of the Northwest section of Philadelphia would take up this idea and roll with it. And some of that might still happen. We hope so, even with the short amount of time that's left to us. But we really hope that we can get this message across and get people to understand that a lot of our votes are people who are already in a position to vote. We just need to take them with us. Now, let me emphasize this. We are working through a nonprofit and we're nonpartisan. So some of the materials that you'll see us develop, it won't be won't be leaning toward campaigning. You won't see us supporting this candidate or that candidate. But let me just say this, as a member, as a person who's been in the Northwest for over 50 years now, that I'm not worried about who will get elected if we turn out. That is not a question. So we don't have to promote it in our materials and we can stay safe on that issue. So, just make certain that you are helping us to get to the people who will help others who have not been voting to vote. Thank you.